Hey, Coach. What did you? I know it's the first day. We ask you the same question every year. What did you see that you like?
Let me explain the concept to you that we've kind of worked under here, because we've gone through the pre-spring practice, right, leading up to today, which is the first spring practice.
Right.
You've all heard the whole teaching progression.
Yes.
Well, as in whole, we put in a whole lot of whole over the pre-spring practice. And now today you get out here and put helmets on and actually have a football. You break it down into the part of it. So now we're just trying to find the parts to eventually put that whole back together and be able to be efficient, quite honestly. So today is not a big question or a big answer kind of day. It's really just about the parts of what we kind of initially implemented here over the last couple months. With that said, the big advantage we have now is time. You know, we've gone from an 8-hour week that we have with our players to a 20-hour week. So as we go into this part segment of this, each one of these parts is so important because they're out here a lot longer. Their focus has to go for a lot longer. Their energy has to maintain. They have to be durable. So, I mean, the best way to explain this concept is we are now into the part of it, of breaking down each little individual thing and seeing if we can find one of 11 on each unit. And each kid's out here trying to win a job, and we're trying to coach detail now. So there's no evaluation of like broad overview. It's just bits and pieces of the part theory of that.
Okay.
So we've been together a long time, right?
Right.
Does that kind of clean up what it is?
Yes.
So I'm not going to say like, Coach, who looked good today?
Yeah, no.
Coach, who's that starting quarterback today?
Yeah.
How'd the new offense look today?
Right.
This is all about that little part segment of this.
Right.
Coach, on that evaluation part, you've talked about how important continuity is in the coaching, tree that you guys have, and you haven't had that in a while. Probably going back all the way to Jason Lindenmeyer, where you guys had been here for years together. What's it like, time?
Yeah, and I would contest that our continuity in the Mountain West Conference at this level of football is as good as anybody's. Because our continuity in comparison to what other people have with turnover in coaches and players, continuity has been absolutely a strength of ours, and one thing that's kind of been a positive, I think. But you're right. I mean, in that there is a new offensive coordinator, but we're not in a new offense like we were a year ago. If anything, it's more clean and more exact based on our personnel than it was a year ago, because we've been in the spread now going into our second year. So we're able to actually, with our offense, tailor it more to the specific skills, particularly of our quarterback, than we were last year, when we were kind of just putting in a new scheme. So even though the coordinator changed, I honestly feel like we're a lot more exact right now the first day, maybe than we were last year the last day of the season, just because we've been in the spread and we've been able to go back and look at everything, how it applies to this program, how we need to win here based on what we did when we were in our other offense, to kind of maybe get a more percentage of that offense as we go forward here. So, defensively, there's a new coordinator, but, that's, all of us have had a shared responsibility on defense. So there are new coordinators, but there really is continuity, particularly because of the offense that we were in last year, really for the first time.
Coach, could you talk about like Bryson Carroll and how he's so explosive?
I'm anxious to watch him. He is very explosive. I get asked the question all the time, and I think about this question all the time. Do you have another Jarrell Presley? Do you have another Terrion Gibson? Do you have another Casey Carrier? Tyrone Owens? And I've said it before, I don't think we do, but we've got some candidates that might be that. And Bryson Carroll is a very fast, very explosive player, that we recruited him as a quarterback that was dynamic, running the ball. He's 185 pounds, one of the fastest kids on our team. He's new to the running back position, but he's definitely a guy that I'm anxious to see through this spring. And he does give us hope that that's a guy that when he touches it, he can make you hold your breath a little bit.
Coach, you've seen guys like Alex and Trent work their way back from injuries such a long time ago. What was it like today to see them in pads rocking and rolling?
Unbelievable. You know, to have Alex back out here, I mean, again, and Trent Sellers, even though they're not going contact, you know, they're out here, but like an exact example is Alex Hart coaching young linebackers and standing behind the defense and making like calls, strength calls, stunt calls for the defense. I mean, it puts in perspective again how when Alex Hart went down and Tavaka Toyota went down, in some ways we lost our 2 starting quarterbacks, one on offense and one on defense, by the 3rd game of the year last year. But yeah, those guys, I mean, they've invested so much. And I've done a lot of talking, at least I did in the press conference, about these guys that have 1 year of football left. I mean, like Alex Hart and Trent Sellers are the epitome of that, of how much they have invested, how much they've been through, how much knowledge they have. And again, man, it makes you feel good to have those guys out here. Trent Sellers, we are going to appeal. He may have 2 years left, but he's in that category of those guys.
I wanted to ask about Coach Daly. 3 years now, 3 different offensive coordinators, from the best to McGee, now Daly. Not about scheme, but about a personality and a coaching style. What makes Coach Daly distinct? Yeah,
I think, you know, personality-wise, he is unique. He is unique, and that's the reason I hired him. And in some ways, it is a combination of Bob DeBess and Calvin McGee. He is as a personality. He is X and O-wise, in some ways, a combination of Bob and Calvin. But just his thoroughness, his energy, his absolute maniacal, I can tell at a young age, he's made a tremendous investment into football. He's maximized every minute. From just a knowledge standpoint, I mean, the core of knowledge and that he's accumulated in a relatively short amount of time is very impressive to me. And again, I've been around some good coaches. I've had some good coaches on my staff at every stop and been around good coaches as an assistant. I really believe he is a talent. He is a talent. And it's funny how, you know, when we scheduled Liberty, no one had heard much about Liberty. Well, all of a sudden, whether it's basketball or whether it's football now, people realize what Liberty is and what Liberty's building there. And I was impressed from him the moment I put the Liberty tape on a year ago at this time when we were just looking at preparation. So he's a combination of a lot of things, but he's unique. And I think as you come out here on the practice field and watch him coach, and just the exactness of what you see and how demanding he is, I think you'll see the same thing in a short amount of time. Okay?
One more
good guys.
question. Tavaka and Sharon, they have the most experience at QB. Those guys are both healthy and ready to go and everything.
It's about it. And I think that's, you hit the nail on the head. You know, we've played another year of football with inexperience at quarterback last year. These experiences, good and bad, you have to have a guy that's done it before. You have to have a guy that's done it before, unless he's just some unique talent. And I do feel like, you know, in some ways, Tavaka, when I talk about Tavaka, it's kind of like talking about Alex Hart. Or even Sharon now, it's kind of like talking about Alex Hart. I mean, those guys have been through some things. And those negative experiences sometimes, you know, put more calluses on you than the positive experiences. And because of that, you know, I feel like we got a couple guys that, you know, can raise the level of this because they've seen a lot of things. We good, man?
Cool.